to the Minister for Health to discuss the lack of a sexual assault trauma unit in the MidWest region.
Minister, in January this year with Ireland South MEP Kathleen Funchion, I met the Rape Crisis Centre MidWest in Limerick City. We all know the vital work these centres play in supporting those who have been subjected to gender, domestic and sexual violence. Their focus is on the survivor and what is best for them. Their supports range from therapy, counselling, support with court appearances, and in some cases the volunteers are simply a sounding board, a confidant who survivors can share their story with. Meeting with their executive director was a useful reminder for me of the important role that these centres play. One of the concerns that was raised with me was that the Rape Crisis Centre MidWest has 80 people on their waiting list for counselling support. I hope as a follow-up with the Minister for Health that she can liaise with the Rape Crisis Centre MidWest to help them reduce this waiting list. It must be difficult for those who have suffered such terrible attacks to have that trauma compounded by the absence of counselling support. But what is the utmost of concern to me is the absence of a sexual assault trauma unit in the MidWest region. More concerning again is the response I received to parliamentary question last week from the HSE when I queried this. They advised me there are currently no plans to establish a SATU in Limerick. I appreciate that there is the availability of a forensic medical examination at University Hospital Limerick, but this service is only available in the evening time when somebody presents at UHL. There is no forensic medical examination available prior to 7 p.m. at night. When a rape or sexual assault occurs, to protect the integrity of the forensic evidence, the person against whom the crime was committed is advised not to change their clothes, shower, brush their teeth, or go to the bathroom. To have suffered such an attack and have to remain as you are when it happened for hours afterwards, unable to shower, unable to even brush your teeth, seems to me to be a further layer of trauma that could be avoided if a sexual assault trauma unit was available near to you. So if such a heinous crime occurs in Limerick during the morning hours, the assaulted person has limited options. They can wait until evening time to visit the forensic medical examination or to seek transport to the nearest sexual assault trauma unit in Galway. What happens if they don't drive? What if they're still processing the attack and not ready to share the experience with a loved one or a friend? Should they get the bus to Galway or should they sit in the clothes they were wearing until 7 p.m. that night? We know that unfortunately for a myriad of reasons that there is an underreporting of sexual crime to the Garda Síochána. Sometimes, and due to the trauma of the attack, people delay reporting such an incident to an Garda Síochána. The lack of a sexual assault trauma unit removes the opportunity for forensically collecting evidence to be stored for up to a year, giving a survivor the ability to proceed with making a criminal complaint later, while simultaneously having access to medical assessment and medications. However, if you can only present to a forensic medical examiner, you do not receive support services. You only get the use of a kit for evidence gathering purposes. This is a fundamental difference in how survivors of sexual assaults are treated. A sexual assault trauma unit is patient-centred and fundamentally focused on the well-being of the patient. It is more care-based service that provides necessary medication, health assessments and a forensic examination. People can access care without involving the Garda Síochána. Sometimes they may not yet be ready to do so. If you have access to a sexual assault trauma unit, you have a dedicated phone line to call and it is open 24 hours, 365 days a week. If you're raped or sexually assaulted in Limerick, you can dial 999. Minister, appreciating Limerick's central location within the MidWest region, appreciating that it is a university city with 3 major campuses, just under 13,000 third level students, it strikes me as appalling that no sexual assault trauma unit is stationed here for use by the wider MidWest. Currently there are 6 sexual assault trauma units in the state, in Cork, Donegal, Galway, Mullingar, Waterford and Dublin. I suggest to you that there's an urgent need for more and the one should be located in Limerick.
Thanks, Count Corla. I would like to thank Deputy Quinlivan for raising this important topic with the opportunity to speak today about the issue of profound importance, timely, compassionate, specialist care for survivors of sexual assault. Taking this matter on behalf of the Minister for Health, Jennifer McNeill. Responding to sexual violence is a responsibility which is shared across government in Ireland. Sexual assault treatment units, SATUs, play an integral role in this. Across Ireland there are 6 dedicated SATUs located in Cork, Donegal, Dublin, Galway, Mullingar and Waterford, which you've already referenced. In 2025, these units provided care for 1,077 people. 2025 saw a reversal in the slight downward trend in overall attendance of previous years, with the largest increase in attendance in Dublin at 12%. SATUs aim to provide 24/7 access to forensic examinations, medical treatments and trauma-informed support within 3 hours. SATUs operate within a nationally agreed model of care underpinned by defined multi-agency guidelines and federal pathways, provide responsive patient-centred care for people of all genders and gender identities, again aged 14 years and over, who experienced rape and sexual assault services. Services are delivered in close partnership with key agencies including Rape Crisis Network Ireland, Garda Síochána and TUSLA. SATUs offer a range of services, including options for people to access care without the need to engage with Garda Síochána, and for people to store evidence for up to 1 year, giving time to consider their reporting intentions in more detail. The SATU is geographically distributed to enable any patient nationally to access the service 3-hour window, optimise both the health and criminal justice responses to sexual crimes. The government has always been very clear that regardless of the circumstance in which sexual violence has occurred, a victim of these crimes can and should report their experience to Garda Síochána. Accessing an SATU within a 3-hour framework is a HSE National Key Performance Indicator, KPI for the service, with a target of 90%. This has been consistently achieved since 2018. The 24/7 365 nature of the SATU service necessitates ongoing monitoring of accessibility and staying focused on both infrastructure and workforce. In addition, in terms of the MidWest services, in addition to access to Cork and Galway SATU services, 3-hour framework time frame, those in the MidWest can avail immediate forensic and medical support in Limerick, which operates independently of the national SATU network and SAT governance structures. This service provides a local out-of-hours forensic medical examination service for individuals aged 14 and over. It does not currently provide health checks or options for storage of evidence. All patients must be accompanied by a Garda Síochána to initiate access to the service. Victims of sexual assault also have the option of calling the excellent frontline service provided by organisations such as the Rape Crisis Centre, which offer non-judgmental support, a listening ear and information. The work these all do in this different space must be commended. SATUs are a key element of the support available in the health sector to victims of rape and sexual assault, and while demand for the service is unpredictable, is monitored closely by the HSE. And then at a national level, the HSE is currently preparing an overview of the SAT infrastructure. This work is expected to inform strategic health investment framework, alignment process and inform future steps. And the 2 points you raised, Deputy, you said there was 8 people on the waiting list for counselling. 18 or 80? 80. Okay, maybe it's a matter you could bring up with the Minister and we can follow up on that. And I would say that there is currently a review is currently preparing the HSE of the SA2 infrastructure, and as I said, I think we can feed into that in terms of consideration on the matter you put forward for Limerick.
Thank you, Minister, for your response. And Minister, just to outline it, and you'll know the situation well in UHL, if you arrive for the forensic medical examination, as you mentioned there, you'll be accompanied by Garda Síochána, and obviously before you're even treated, people will know you're with the Gardaí in the hospital, and there is absolutely no privacy whatsoever in that, and that has to change. The stark reality is the service people in Limerick, Clare and Tipperary receive is less than available to people living near other large cities. We need to ensure that all those who perpetrate such disgusting, violent and invasive crimes face the full force of the law. Giving people the option to make a report at a later date can be a crucial part of this objective. A new 16 million HSE surgical hub is being developed at the former Skull Carmel site on O'Connell Avenue in Limerick. A sexual assault trauma unit could and should be established there. It would offer more privacy and is literally, as you know, Minister, around the corner from the Rape Crisis MidWest premises. People after such trauma are always yet ready to engage with the criminal justice system. Having access to a sexual assault trauma unit may allow some more survivors to take the brave step of reporting their attacker to the Gardaí and allow those survivors the space to prepare for the often arduous criminal justice journey. We need to support those navigating the criminal justice system when they have been sexually assaulted. Forcing somebody who has survived a sexual assault to wait for an available room after the assault is no way that a survivor of domestic violence or any other sexual assault. I think the Minister has time to put this right. Before we conclude, I would like to note 2 things. If anyone's listening tonight has been a victim of sexual violence, I would urge you to speak to somebody about your experience. Organisations such as Rape Crisis Centre has your best interests at heart. I would suggest that when you're ready to consider reporting the crime to Garda Síochána or other authorities. Having spoken to survivors, I've heard directly from them the incredible support and compassion shown to them by trained Garda Síochána. They are professionals, often in the Divisional Protective Service Unit, and will work closely in supporting you. I commend those Gardaí for their work. It must be emotionally challenging for them, and I do hope that they as well receive all the necessary supports themselves as they deal with these difficult situations.
And once again, I'd like to thank Deputy Quinlivan for raising this important topic. And can I join you in terms of the work that both Red Crisis and you mentioned, especially trained Gardaí, and maybe Deputy Quinlivan, you might come back to us on the 80 people waiting on counselling. And as I stated here, I'm taking this matter on behalf of the Minister for Health, Jennifer McNeill. The Government remains committed to providing sexual assault treatment units, SATUs across Ireland, to offer safe and confidential space for individuals who are experiencing rape or sexual assault. As I said, there are currently 6 SATU located in Cork, Donegal, Dublin, Galway, Mullingar and Waterford. SATUs operate within a nationally agreed model of care underpinned by defined multi-agency guidelines and referral pathways, provide responsive patient-centred care for people of all genders and genders identified age for 14 years and over who experience rape or sexual assault. Services delivered in close partnerships with key agencies including Rape Crisis Network and Garda Síochána and Tusla. You've referenced those, Deputy. SATUs aim to provide 24 access for forensic examinations, medical treatment, trauma-informed support, 3 hours. Accessing an SAT within a 3-hour framework is the HSE National Key Performance Indicator for the service. Target 90% has been consistently achieved since 2018. 24/365 nature of the SAT service necessitates ongoing monitoring of accessibility, staying focused on both infrastructure and workforce. In addition to access to Cork and Galway, SAT service within a 3-hour frame, those in the MidWest can avail of the immediate forensic medical support in Limerick, which operates independently of the national SAT network and SAT governance structures. At the national level, the HSE, and as I said earlier, at national level, the HSE is currently preparing an overview of the SAT structure. I will look to have that Limerick will be feed into that review and the proposal you put forward, Deputy. This work is expected to inform the SHIP strategic healthcare investment framework alignment process and inform future steps. And I would no doubt expect, Deputy, in your own way, that you'll be following up with the HSE and the particular review as well, in terms of including Limerick. And the Government is committed to the provision of SATs to ensure timely, compassionate specialist care for victims of rape and sexual assault. And thank you, Deputy, for raising this point.
Gurmaigov Clare, Thomas Creeknell, Le Keshna Trahula, EOI, August Tá an Dólar Athlo, Gajini Etlog, Modjan Amorg.